Amalu nke onye melụ, amalu onye dị mma na onye dị njọ. Asị na anya na-afụ obi, asị na anya na-afụ ime obi.
Once upon a time, there lived a man named Ugo. Ugo was a cocoa businessman. He harvested cocoa and sold it to other kingdoms. Ugo had acquired the wealth he desired. His next goal was to build a family, so he married a woman named Chika. Chika was a good woman. She had her own farm business, but it was not as big as that of her husband's. Everything was going well for the couple. They had a big home and good businesses that provided for their needs. After a few years, they had a son. They named him Chizaram, and then they had a girl and they named her Uju. As was tradition, Chika's mother came for Omugo. She stayed for 3 months taking care of the children. It was during this time that Chika complained that she would need someone to help her take care of her children, as she worked in the farm all the time. Her children were still too young to follow her to the farm, so she needed help until they were old enough. Her mother agreed to this. When she returned home, she told her friend Nkechi that she was looking for a girl for her daughter Chika, someone who would stay with the children as Chika is in the farm. Nkechi said she knew of one that would be a good fit, and the girl was hardworking. The following day, Nkechi brought Ebere. Ebere was not more than 15 years old, and her parents were very poor. Staying with Chika would help alleviate the family's problem. Chika's mother was grateful to Nkechi. Chika liked Ebere. The girl seemed like a good girl. She was respectful and well-mannered. By this time, Chizaram was 5 years old, while his sister was under a year old. Ebere settled in immediately. She was good with the children and took care of the house, especially when Chika had to spend hours planting and harvesting with her workers in the farm. One day, after a few months, Chika's friend Ngozi visited her. When she got to the house, she saw no one. But she saw Uju. She was on the floor crying, but no one came to pick her. Chika, the friend shouted. Chika! There was no response. Who will leave this baby girl crying here? Is anybody here? She shouted. But yet, nobody responded. She called out again, but still no response. What can she do? She cannot just leave Uju there crying. So she picked up Uju and tried to calm the baby down. As she looked around the house, she noticed that she had not even seen Chizaram or Ebere. As she carried Uju and turned to leave, she heard, before she saw Chizaram running towards her. He was crying, "Auntie, help me, help me." What is it? What is it? Chizaram ran to her while Ebere was chasing him. Before he could speak, Ebere said she told the boy to sleep, but he refused as it was time for his nap. But there was no reason for him to cry this way, Ngozi said. She bent down to comfort Chizaram. His whole body was shaking. But why would a child cry this much? As she looked at him, she saw bruises on his body. What happened to him? Oh, he fell down, ma. He fell down. That is how he hurt himself. He fell down? Ngozi waited for Chika to come back. She took Chika outside the house and told her all that had happened. Chika, how many times did I call you? You have to be careful. You can take these children with you to the farm. Why leave them here alone? Chika said she didn't want to take her children to the farm so that they will not be bitten by snakes. That is why she left them home. Plus, Ebere was a nice girl and the children loved her. Okay, I have said my own. I am going. Bye-bye. What Ngozi said bothered Chika. Was she missing something? Did something happen? After a few months, she noticed that her once cheerful boy was now aggressive and mean. Chizaram was so rude and wicked to people. What is this? What is happening? Chika asked. One day, she decided to come back home early. Once home, she did not see her children. She went through the house quietly looking for them and Ebere, but she saw no one. Then she decided to go to Ebere's room. For whatever reason, she did not go through the door. She went outside the house to peep through Ebere's window. What she saw confirmed her worst fears. The baby Uju was on the bed, while Ebere and her son were standing and talking to what could only be described as an evil creature. She heard the creature tell Ebere and Chizaram that they had to go to Mazebube's house this night and kill his young son. The evil creature wanted the soul of his son. Ebere and Chizaram agreed to this, and then the evil creature disappeared. Chika ran away and screamed. What is this? What did she just see? What did she bring into her home? She ran to her husband's farm and told him all that had happened. They had to save their children. Chika and Ugo went to the Ezemo. Chika, crying, told him all that had happened. Please save my children, she said. The Ezemo told them that Ebere was an agent of Mirioke, an evil god that ate the souls of children. To free her children, she had to go to the shrine of that god and sing a song only her children would know. That is the only way her children will recognize her voice as their mother and come back to her. But Chika had to be careful. If the evil god catches on, then he will kill Chika. Chika and her husband went immediately to the shrine. They stood in the bushes and Chika sang a song she sang to her children when they were just born. As she sang the song, she cried, begging her children to come back to her. Now, back at home, Ebere could see that she was losing her spiritual grip on the children. Chizaram and Uju's souls were fighting her. But how? Why? How is this possible? Then she disappeared from the house and appeared in the shrine. She looked around with her evil eye, and that is when she heard Chika's voice. How dare you? Come out! Come out now! But Chika and Ugo stayed put. Then Ebere, as she was losing her powers, began to change. She changed from a small girl into a woman. Then she changed into a snake. Come out! Come out! She cried. It was as if she was in pain. But Chika kept singing. Her voice increased. She sang and sang, and her husband held her hand. The Ezemo told her to keep singing until Ebere changed into her true form. Ebere was angry. She started to scream. Stop it! Stop it! She was in pain. But Chika kept singing. Then the shrine started to shake. The souls of the children that had been trapped broke free, and they all flogged Ebere until her body was burnt into shreds. And then all their souls went up into the sky and disappeared. Chika and Ugo ran home and saw their children Chizaram and Uju. They were back to their old self. Chika and Ugo were so happy and grateful. Many parents went to the Ezemo to thank him because their once wayward children and wicked children have somehow changed overnight. They did not know at the time that there was an evil spirit in the village that had taken their souls. By this time, Nkechi, who was Chika's mother's friend, who had brought Ebere into their home, had fallen gravely ill. She confessed that she worshipped the evil god, and she and Ebere worked together to take the souls of children. Nkechi died and her body was thrown into the evil forest. The whole village was happy and grateful to have their children back. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. Once upon a time, there lived a girl called Akachi. Akachi was a very beautiful girl. She was also humble and kind. Her parents always told her that her beauty will attract a king to her. And so it was. When the king of Ori wanted to take a bride, he asked for Akachi's hand in marriage. Her parents were happy, everyone was happy. The only problem was that the king had a wife. Her name was Udo. Akachi would be second wife. Udo had failed to produce a son after 5 years of marriage to the king. So, as was tradition, the king had to take a new bride. He had to produce sons. The king married Akachi, and as was tradition, he left the palace first. Akachi was to join him in 2 weeks' time. During that time, her parents got her prepared for her new life as the king's wife. Her mother warned her not to allow the queen intimidate her. She had not produced a son, so she was not yet a full woman. She had only girls, therefore the queen would be jealous of her. She should spend all her time with the king, her mother said, so that she could be able to get pregnant and produce sons. She had to do this as soon as possible so she could secure her spot as the king's favorite wife, the one with the first son. Her friend Ngozi will go with her. Ngozi will be her eyes and ears in the palace. Akachi took notes and promised her parents that she would not disappoint them. Once in the palace, Akachi, although respected the queen, tried to avoid her as much as possible. The king spent most of his time with Akachi, therefore making her in charge of kitchen and bedroom affairs. One day, Akachi announced that she was pregnant. Everyone was happy, most especially the king. Now he was going to have a son. Everyone was happy. People would then refer to Akachi as queen, even when the queen was present. This was wrong. No other wife other than the first wife of the king was to be referred to as queen. This was tradition. But because the queen had not produced any sons, people looked down on her. Akachi was 3 months pregnant. Then she was 4 months pregnant. Then she was 5 months pregnant. Then she was 6 months pregnant. She then had a miscarriage. The night before the miscarriage, a woman appeared in her dreams. She couldn't see the woman's face, but the woman was evil. She could sense it. The woman walked up to Akachi and snatched the baby from her hand and disappeared. Akachi could only scream and cry. Within the past few years, Akachi had had 3 miscarriages. Each time, she lost the baby on the 6th month. Akachi was devastated. The king avoided her. Everyone in the palace did not look her in the eye anymore. Some had started calling her a witch. She was so sad she had to send for her mother. Once her mother came, she told her mother about the dreams. "Why didn't you send for me since? Why didn't you send for me earlier? This is the work of a very powerful witch," her mother said. "Who would want you to not have a child?" "The queen. She is using diabolical means to stop you from having a son. We have to see the Ezemo immediately," her mother said. Ngozi agreed to this. She told Akachi's mother how the queen had been treating Akachi with wickedness. She had stopped her from seeing the king. The king had stopped eating her food as well. All this was because of the queen, Ngozi said. The next day, all 3 of them went to the Ezemo. The Ezemo gave them a white substance. Akachi was to put it in the food of the person who she wanted to eliminate. That person will go mad. Any mistakes, and it is Akachi that will go mad. Akachi was very hesitant at first. "Mama, what are we doing? What if something goes wrong? What if the king finds out? What are we going to say? My friend, will you shut up? After 3 miscarriages, are you still asking stupid questions? Now people are calling you a witch. My own daughter, never. All these are happening because of the queen, and we must take her out," her mother said. And so, with the help of Ngozi, Akachi poisoned the meal of the queen. The next day, instead of the queen to go mad, it was Akachi that went mad. Akachi became a mad person. Her mother shouted, "Hey, my enemies are at work." As was tradition, the king had to throw Akachi out of the palace immediately because no mad person could live in the palace. This made people hate Akachi more. The gods have punished her, they said. She is a witch. She was eating her children, and now this is judgment. 3 months after throwing Akachi out of the palace, news got to Akachi's family that the king had married Ngozi, Akachi's best friend, and she was now pregnant. Understanding then hit Akachi's mother. "Hey, ewu," she shouted. In a surprising turn of events, it was the queen who visited Akachi when no one else wanted to. Once there, Akachi's mother knelt down before her and asked her for forgiveness, telling her all that had happened and how Akachi became mad. The queen said she was never the enemy. It was Ngozi who had planted seeds from day one. Because Ngozi was able to move as a maid, she had access to the king's chambers. With time, she had convinced the king that it was Akachi that was evil. She was a witch. And to prove it, Akachi would turn mad. She knew that Akachi would become mad because she knew that the queen was not the enemy. Once this happened, the king believed Ngozi completely. Now, Ngozi is after the queen, and that is why she is here, the queen said. They had to reveal Ngozi's true colors, otherwise, things will get bad very fast. "Leave that to me," Akachi's mother said. "I will handle it." Ngozi was now the king's favorite. She was pregnant, and the midwives, using traditional means, confirmed that it was a boy. Everyone was happy. After 9 months, Ngozi went into labor. And after so much pain, so much pushing, she gave birth to a monkey. Everyone shouted, "Hey! What is this?" the king shouted. Ngozi became mad after delivery. She confessed that she was the one that killed all of Akachi's children. She confessed all that she had done. And then she died. As time went on, Akachi became normal herself, but she never went back to the palace. The king married more wives, but he never had. Once upon a time, there lived a woman named Aboma. Aboma had been married for years without a child. Her husband was always supportive towards her and would encourage her not to give up. It was Aboma's dream to have children of her own. One day, the gods answered her prayer and she had a baby girl. They called her Udo. Udo was a strange child right from birth. She had blue eyes and a golden hair. She was different from her parents. As she grew older, people noticed that she was able to make people around her happy and well. Because of this, people called her a witch. There was so much hate directed towards Udo. One night, as the family slept, some men attacked their home. They tried to kill Udo, but by the help of the gods, they were not able to succeed. Then the next day, the chief priest announced that Udo was evil and had to be killed. She was from the sea, that is why she had blue eyes and the golden hair. To save his family, Uche took his wife, Aboma, and Udo and ran away. They walked for many days and finally got to a village called Ori. The Ori people were known to be kind and open to foreigners, and so they settled there. Udo was different from the Ori people, but they did not think she was a witch. People liked her and treated her well. As Udo grew up, she made new friends. As the years went by, many villages suffered a very serious famine. The only village that did not suffer was Ori. While other villages migrated to Ori to seek help, others, such as the Amanze village, sought to take over Ori and its wealth. One of such villages was the Amanze village. They did not succeed and their king was taken as a hostage. While the Ori king was in his palace with his cabinet members and his chief priests, the Amanze king was brought before them. The Ori king was to decide on his fate, but he was not sure of how to handle the Amanze king. It was the Ori chief priest that asked that his king send for Udo. Udo? Why? They all asked. The chief priest explained that the reason that the Ori people had not been affected by the famine was because of Udo. Udo was actually a gift from the gods given to the Amanze people. The Amanze king knew this, but out of greed and pride, he tried to kill her. He did not want anyone to be more powerful than he was, so he had his men kill her. When they failed, he had his chief priest banish her. Now, by the gods, his life is in her hands. The Amanze king was shocked and covered his face in shame. So Udo was sent for. Because she was still a small girl, her parents appeared before the palace with her. The Ori king explained the situation and asked Udo what she wanted to do with the Amanze king. She had the power to order his death or to let him live. Udo said that she did not want to kill him. Instead, a truce pact should be made between both villages. Let the gods handle him, she said. With that, the Amanze king was allowed to live. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. If you liked it, please subscribe, like, comment, share. Thank you to those who have subscribed. Thank you to those who have supported. Until next time, goodbye.